Song for the times, y'all.
Let me get this shit.
Show me your peace sign when there's no sign of peace. From the north to the south to the west to the east. From the top 1% to every man on the street, every woman rising up and every child in the Middle East. It's the little things in this great big world. And it don't matter if you're a boy or a girl. And it don't matter if you're someone in between. I know you know what I mean. I wanna be standing next to you, standing next to you. When the revolution comes, when the revolution comes, I wanna be standing next to you, standing next to you. When the revolution comes, when the revolution comes, show me your peace sign when there's no sign of love. You just can't sweep hate down under the rug. Too many guns, too many drugs. I got an olive branch, I need a dove. Cause I was born with every blood up in my veins. Every country you could visit, every city you could name. Everyone is different and everyone's the same. I know you know what I'm saying. I wanna be standing next to you, standing next to you. When the revolution comes, when the revolution comes, I wanna be standing next to you.
Hey, good morning, Freedom Revolution Network. Good morning, all my revolutionists out there. Thank you so much for tuning in again. It's Friday, and I feel super good today because I did my yoga and meditation. So I am really excited about today's show because we're going to really talk about something that we don't usually talk about when it comes to business and creating a business from a place of values and consciousness and integrity. So a couple of years ago, I was running around town doing networking, and I met a gentleman named Bob Shannon, and his business is called Assured Performance 360. And I was very, very fascinated by this individual. He came across obviously very genuine, down to earth, grounded, and he was bringing something really, really unique to Las Vegas, something I hadn't seen before. So I made it a point to kind of reach out and bug him every now and then. And I also was trying to find him some business. So I had an opportunity to work with him through, I guess, the last place of employment that I had before I jumped ship and became an entrepreneur myself. And so when I got to work with him at this other company, I kind of brought him in there, seeing that this company could use what he was bringing. And one of the main things, right, was creating a culture of what we call high performance teams. And he's going to talk way more about that than I am, right? But this was a particular company that didn't have a team spirit or a good culture, and so it was very disconnected. The communication was poor, and they had a lot of bottleneck issues. So I was not satisfied in that career, especially after getting an opportunity to work with Bob and just seeing that it's probably my time to take my own type A personality and create what it is that I want to create in the world. So then I went through I would say my initiation of becoming an entrepreneur is a really tough, hard thing to go through. And it was great that I maintained this relationship with Bob. Him and I would meet up for coffee. We met up quite a bit last year. This year, I don't even know if we've met up yet this year. It's been a wild year so far, but he's here in Vegas. He's here in Henderson. He's been married for 100 years again to the same woman that he loves and adores and is his goddess. And again, you guys know I bring people on the show who have this kind of integrity because it really inspires me. He has 3 children. We're all grown now. I wouldn't call them children anymore. Adults, 3 adult children, 2 sons and 1 daughter, I believe. I want to read his bio here too. So I know I don't know if he talked about it in here, but I know he has some very interesting past. So prior to founding Assured Performance 360, Bob had worked in both the public and the private sector. In the private sector, Bob worked in the construction industry, starting as a laborer, and then quickly started his own small business of Bob Shannon Homes, located in Northeast Iowa. Project management and team building is a must in the construction industry. And so this experience served him well as he moved into other businesses. So, delivering products and services on time in today's market is paramount to the success of any organization. So, what connected to construction, right? Timing is everything. You have to be right on time with the construction of homes. So, he didn't say anything about, oh, yeah, he also has a passion to serve his community. He spent the last 30 years working in the fire service. So 30 years, I didn't know it was that much. Wow. Starting as a volunteer fireman in a small town department located in Northeast Iowa, to the Class 1 city of Las Vegas Fire and Rescue in Las Vegas, Nevada. So I think we'll just bring on Bob if you guys are ready for him. And good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm just now looking over here at the comments. So good morning, Bob Shannon.
Good morning, Elle. How are you?
Great. I got my coffee.
Yeah, I have some too. It's not noon yet, so.
I know. It's like, I know it's 9. I know every time we'd meet for coffee at 9 too, it'd take me like a few minutes before I was like, okay, I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm awake.
Well, it's a beautiful day here in Las Vegas. Supposed to be 106. I don't know where all your listeners are located. That's the beauty about these podcasts and what you're doing.
All
Is you
over.
you can reach people all across the world, and which is awesome. Something we didn't have even 10 years ago. So here we are.
Absolutely.
I'm really excited about the topic today, and especially you sharing what you and I have done in the past. Working together, and that goes both ways. And yeah, it's really exciting. So I'm excited to get started.
Right on. So I'm gonna go back and read the description of the show. Whatever's in my back office here. But yeah, it's a great time to bring up this subject. One, because we have so many people who are out of work, who are unemployed, who are sitting at home and really contemplating if going back to work is what they really want to do. So I've seen a big rise in people who are jumping ship over to entrepreneurship and really trying to figure that out. So I think that makes it a great reason to talk about this topic. And the other great reason really is because Vegas is again going to be facing another time where it has to reinvent itself again. And now Vegas has done it many times. It'll do it again. That's what Vegas is probably known for at this point. But here we are. And as conscious business creators, right? What are we going to build? What are we going to build?
Well, that's the $1 million question, and you're right. Las Vegas has gone through this before, especially during the last economic downturn. And but what's interesting about what's happening right now is this wasn't caused by anything other than a business's inability to conduct business. And then to compound that issue, it was, well, what's essential and what's not? And a lot of people were excluded from that. And right, wrong, or indifferent, that's just the reality of it. So as you and I have talked in the past about emotional intelligence, you have to embrace the reality. Well, the reality is this is what happened, and how are we going to work through it? And in business, one of the things we always have to look for is what's our exposures. If X happens, what am I going to do to counter that? And I can safely say nobody ever thought that the government was going to shut down business.
Yeah.
I don't ever remember reading about it in our history, but I mean, nobody would have thought that.
So I'm interested that you bring that up. So what? Just give us your opinion on. By the way, this show does include opinions, people. So just a warning to throw out there. But what's your opinion really on that big box stores are allowed to stay open, but your small mom and pop shops can't. So we can pack up a Costco, we can pack up a Home Depot, and we can all get our stuff to go and add more waste to the landfill.
Yeah. Well, here's my opinion on it. Here's my viewpoint, and I as well listen to a lot of different podcasts from Fortune 100 CEOs down to startups. But here's my take on that question. The reality is, if I'm a small business owner and I'm a grocer or whatever that small business is, and I can only operate at a certain percent capacity, while the big competitor is allowed to operate at 100% capacity. That's a hard dose to take. And is it fair? My opinion is it's not. And but the reality, but again, going back to here's the reality. Here's what we're dealt with. Those businesses, what are they going to do to move forward? And what does that look like for them? How are they going to define that? And so back to emotional intelligence, you have to embrace reality. And then what we're talking about right now is a paradigm, how you and I see it. So a paradigm is if we all had glasses. That's how I see the world, is through my glasses. If I gave them to you, you might be all blurry, it might be hyper focused, but that's the concept of a paradigm. It's how I see the world, and that a lot of things go into that, which you and I have talked about many times. A lot of things go into that paradigm, but in this particular case, we're talking about the business, and the business of doing business is people working in an environment with processes and procedures for a deliverable. And it doesn't matter if it's the big box store, if it's the auto industry. I mean, those principles are the same. If it's a mom and pop startup, or you're a solopreneur, your environment is especially key right now, because the environment has changed. How can you can't bring your manufacturing business into your living room like we're doing right now.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the environment has changed, and we often overlook that. And I think sometimes that gets thrown out. Again, of our elected officials, they too have their paradigm, and they too are making their decisions based on their paradigm. And I want to believe at their core they're trying to be fair and equitable to everyone. So I hope that answered that.
Well, I mean, I don't think the government is being fair at all right now. That's my opinion. And that's one reason why Freedom
we're here.
Network right now is blowing up, and why the president yesterday signed an executive order to protect our rights of freedom of speech, because that's being attacked by Twitter and Facebook, YouTube. So we've got some serious things going on right now. That's one of the things I see coming up that I wanted to ask you about was, have you noticed since this whole thing started that it's become apparent there's a lot of really micromanaged government and micromanaged business that just doesn't seem to make much sense anymore? A lot of wasted energy going into hosting space for employees when they do everything on a computer. And so I just wanted to ask you about that. Like, what do you see as common useless management of business and government right now?
Wow. Yeah, there's a lot in that question. And again, it just depends on your paradigm, how you see it. You'll see something different than I do, but yes, I agree with you. I see that as well. And it always goes back to, is bigger government better? Well, when there's more government, there's more governing. And that eventually, I mean, you shrink what you can do without having permission. And just like right now, let's just take the this virus. There's the virus, and then there's the response to the virus. So if I ask you the question, which one are you concerned about more, the virus or the response to the virus? Which one would it be?
Me?
That's a question for you. Yeah.
Oh,
Are you more concerned about the virus or the response to the virus?
oh my God, the response, the response to the virus. But yeah,
Me
that's what I'm
too.
most concerned with, right? Because
When you because to your point, when you look at the data, that's coming out, and they talk about, America. Okay, well, they want to lump all the numbers into one thing. Okay, that's fine, but we're so spread out. I don't know how many millions of miles America is, but what's happening in, I don't know, ABC City in Idaho versus downtown LA versus New York is all different.
right.
So when they first come out and they start talking about that, and they say, okay, well, we have to do what's right in your area. Okay, well, some people did that, and they took that to heart, and they started gathering their own data. And we look at what happened in Southern California with the doctors who own the 7 clinics that put their data together. This is our findings. They weren't disputing what was going on anywhere else. They were just
Mhm.
presenting their findings.
Right.
And now that's gone. You can't find it anymore. I'm sure it's still out there somewhere. But the original platform, it was taken down.
Mhm.
So, I'm sorry about that. I got off on that little bit of a rabbit hole there.
Oh,
But
hey, the show's called Down the Rabbit Hole. It's totally allowed.
oh, well, but that's it. So that infringement, okay, they're presenting their data. They asked originally that the governors and mayors do what's right for their communities, and these folks are the physicians treating people, so they did that, brought the data forward, and it's just like in the workplace. You bring up a good idea, and it's like, no, Ellie, we're just too busy doing what we do. Back to to the one um, employment place where you were at that I came in and talked to him. Yeah, he's very busy. We forget what the business, the busyness does not mean you're in business. It just means you're busy
Oh,
doing something. So you're going to
that's
hear my
so
dogs here in
true.
a minute, by the way.
Oh,
So that's
good.
exactly what's going on, right? Okay, so back to that question. Are you more concerned about the virus, or are you more concerned about the response to the virus? And I would have to say the vast majority of people living in America, we're concerned about the response.
Mhm.
What is,
Mhm.
I think we threw the baby out with the bathwater. I'm not saying it's not
I
a,
haven't heard that in a long time, but it's
yeah,
so true. It's so
yeah, I'm not saying
true.
it's not a serious virus. It is, but just a question that comes in my mind, and being, in public safety for 30 years, and being a paramedic right around the back of an ambulance, I didn't wear the mask. I put the mask on the patient, stopped it at its source. So that's just what we did. And I could probably survive a nuclear attack right now. I've been exposed to so many things, but why did we quarantine the healthy and put the most at-risk population at greater
Mhm.
risk, like in New York when they mandated they take corona patients into a nursing home? I mean, there's no logic there.
Mm.
So
Mm.
that's
That
what people
was,
are pushing back on.
I don't know how you can, yeah, yeah. Well, we might go down that rabbit hole later, but
Sorry about that.
I wanted to keep it light. I told everybody this
Yeah.
week, I was like, "Oh, I'm so sick of the news. I'm so sick of the fighting." And then
Well,
George Floyd, and I'm thinking, "Okay, that to me, this is where I'm coming from, and everybody here on this network, it might feel the same way, but
mhm.
I see it as another false flag really to trigger a race war. And I just I want to see us all come together right now. It's not about fighting each other.
Yeah,
It's really coming together. So
you're
yeah, I
right.
wanted to keep
Well,
it
let me
light,
ask.
but here we are.
This is like, I mean, this is just the reality. I mean, it goes back to, you have to embrace reality. Well, this is the reality of where we're working right now, where we're living. It's true. I mean, you can't go to the store without somebody looking at you, whether you're wearing a mask or not wearing a mask. It's like, oh my God, what happened to my right to choose? you know, uh, when was the last time somebody pulled up at a traffic light and yelled at you because you had your seatbelt on or not? It's so I say that, and I brought that up for a reason. And you have entrepreneurs on here, folks, as you introduce me, folks that may or may not want to go back into the workplace, or their workplace is now at their home, like mine and yours, within their home. So, but here's some key things that we have to keep in mind. First and foremost, when we talk about high performance leadership, it starts out with personal leadership, team leadership, and organizational leadership. And without those three things, working in those four other elements of a business, which is people working in an environment with processes and procedures for a deliverable. Well, if you're an entrepreneur, those four things still apply. You're a person working in an environment, you've got processes, procedures, and if you don't, you're going to find out real quick you need them. And then you have to have a deliverable, something somebody's going to pay you for, either product or services. So, for those listening, I mean, those four things still apply. You just accept the role if you want to be an entrepreneur. And we often overlook that. So with those four things in mind, and going back to, well, okay, how do we get through this mess? I want to take on my personal responsibility. I think that's what people are doing when they want to stay at home, or not stay at home, but if they want to start their own business. I'm taking on my own responsibility. Was that right?
Being more self-reliant. Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
said self-reliant, right? Because
Yeah.
what's really irritating to anybody who has is developing some self-sovereignty, right? Is that we don't want to other people making decisions for us. That makes me feel uncomfortable in my body. I don't want the government to make decisions for me. I want to make decisions for myself.
Right.
So like it makes more sense if I have my own business and I can just make the decisions and I don't have to get permission from somebody. I got permission when I was a kid. Now I'm an adult.
Right.
There you go.
but now you're a business, right? So you can't. I mean, it's your decision. You are in charge of your own destiny, even if you go to work somewhere, even if you're working for an employer, you're still in charge. And what a lot of people forget, and I think you and I talked about this. I'd ask you before, who do you work for? Well, you work for Ellie. I work for Bob Shannon and my family. That's who I work for. Where I work is my choice. And I always had that backwards. They would say, well, who do you work for? And I'd say my employer. No, I work for me. Where I work is my employer. I have a choice. And if you want that choice of being self-employed, awesome. It's a great thing. You're totally in charge. And but you have to remember, you're accepting all of those areas of responsibility. And what's important when we talk about leadership, and this goes back to that paradigm, is even those in government or in science that, oh, well, I'm in science and now I'm making decisions for everybody. Well, you are and you aren't. Science should be based on facts, but here's what the entrepreneur, here's what people on this show need to think about, and it's always overlooked, and I overlooked it for years in leadership. But the thing about leadership is it goes back to pathos, ethos, and logos. Okay, ethos is the authority. Do you have the knowledge, skills, and abilities to speak on a subject, to run that business? If something that you're passionate about, yeah, you might have a great passion about it, but do you have the authority, the credibility to do that? And then pathos is emotions. What do we emotionally feel about that? What are our values? Well, your values are probably different than my values. We used to come together in this country something called American values. Well, that's been eroding for years, all the way back into the 60s. It's been written about and talked about. But the logos is statistical facts, proof. Why do you have the best product? What makes you, that person? So when you're taking on that mantle of organizational leader, you're working by yourself. You might have one or two employees, but you have to view it as, yes, first leadership, second business. So that's where, back to your point, you don't want somebody thinking for you. Well, okay, that's good. You're going to think for yourself. You have to remember those four elements when you go into leadership, because you're still, first and foremost, you're leading yourself, your team, and then your business. So I hope that kind of was what you're looking for there.
No, that was great. That was perfect. Because I mean, what you do is so fascinating to me, that you create systems, within a system that's based on integrity, right? And it's something that is so like that's the next thing. Like everybody needs to do it. To me, it's like I want to just shout out on the top of the rooftops about you and plant you in every business everywhere.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Because it's exciting to me and what it does, especially it being, I mean, when I met you, you had me do a personality test.
Mhm.
And I remember when you called me and you're like, wow, Elle, you're a highly sought after type A. And
You
I like
are.
that highly sought after. I was like, oh, that's an ego stroke. I like that.
in
But
certain situations, but it's not always. What makes that, and what that means is you're a natural born leader. There's some that are out there, and there's some that are not, but you're one in an environment where like it's a startup, new product, which I think was what you were doing at that last employer. Those type of things. Where it could go sideways is if you go into a long-standing company and you're put in there to run a system, and eventually because when you're running a system, you're managing a system. Rather, you manage systems, you lead people. So for those in the podcast today, if you remember one thing, that's it. You lead people, you manage numbers, you manage a system. And if you're wondering, well, you just said Elle would be in there managing a system. You're right. As the leader, I'm leading you. So where the natural friction for you would come as an entrepreneur type, A-type personality is the challenge isn't there. And eventually you're just going to beat your head against the wall and get totally bored and want to leave.
Yeah, that's just it. That's just it. And I can't, and then asking permission again was always a bottleneck. It was like, well, I'm supposed to run this system, but I have to always ask permission for everything that I'm going to do. And it doesn't just happen right away. I have to like book a time on the calendar and wait 3 days while I just sit around and, with my thumb up my ass. That was not going to work for me as a career. No. But, what I meant by that was saying that for me, it's very enjoyable. And I did experience this in one. I worked at a flooring store in Portland. Well, they worked with builders, though. And I ran their window coverings department. This was many years ago. And they actually had a feel that was like that, a very team orientated, a very like, you don't need permission, here's your expense account. Here's what you're going to go do. Go sell this stuff. Go do it. And I was an employee too. I wasn't a subcontractor. So, but I didn't have to punch a clock. And we got together as a team and we did things. We had a culture. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun when it was going. It was busy. We were, so I see that in what you bring too. You have two types of companies, right? You have that one where one person is running it and you always got to ask them for permission and they're just kind of given the agenda every day. And then you have like this other idea of like a high performance team where you train leaders, right? To run systems so that you can focus on other things.
That's right. You just described it perfectly.
I did.
The first one, there's two types. There's command and control. It's been around since forever, since scientific management back in the 1900s was, we're building an assembly line. I don't need you to think. I'll do the thinking. You just stand there and punch this clock or tire or whatever is coming by the assembly line. That's your job. I'll tell you when to do it, how long to do it, and how many times to do it. And that's command and control. What you described at the flooring place was a typical high-performing team. I hire the right person. I put them in the right position, set the parameters. Okay. Okay. I'm not putting you in a box. I'm giving you the parameters. We want, I don't know, 500,000 units sold this month. That's up from last month, but are you up for the challenge? Yes, you are. And this is your budget. This is what you've got to do. Or this is allowing you to use your own creativity. But with that, with high performing teams, where much is given, much is expected. So there's the backside of it as well. So, but and when you deliver, it's very inclusive. So,
I'm sorry. That's
Are we out
my
of time?
phone. I was like, who? No, no. I'm sorry. Um.
That's okay.
Oh. Hold on. Ah. Sorry about that. Um. Go on.
Well, no, no, that's it. High performing teams are, there's a lot of freedom given. We hire the right person. Again, we hire the right person. We put them in a position to where they're going to be successful because as a leader, we've already thought that out. Who is it we're looking for? And I'll give you another example. They took a personality type like yours, and this was the state of Texas back when they used to have toll booth operators, and they took a personality like yours and stuck them in a toll booth, and they couldn't figure out why people were quitting. We pay them well. All you got to do is be friendly. There was no challenge. They hired the wrong personality type. And as that P60 assessment we use is so vitally important. That was a turning point for me. Was what are my core strengths? And I'm a CA personality, very analytical, and yet very much an entrepreneur, just like you. So I would not do well in a toll booth either.
There's a lot of things I would have done that I did well a long time ago that now I would be very dangerous. Very, very like.
Yeah. Yes. So, but yeah, there's a lot, and people, whether they're going to be working at home, that's a lot of freedom. A lot of times we can get sidetracked doing all types of things. And but it's very difficult to stay on task, even when you are the business owner. And I struggle with that. Absolutely. So
yeah, but it's I get more done when I actually sit down to go do it. I think I'm just more efficient when I need to get things done. And
under pressure, timelines. Yeah,
I do better under pressure too. Is that a type A thing?
It is. You like that feel of challenge.
I do. I do. I like my creative job now too, but I do like the pressure.
Yeah.
So
it can be.
I know. I have a friend of mine who went back to work last week. I could see she was kind of dreading it. Just luckily she doesn't have the commute, but some people just commuting, spending all this time in their car. I remember we had this conversation one time about how many people are at work looking for other jobs. It's like 80% or something.
Yeah. According to Gallup, it's in the upper 70%. That was their last analysis back in 2016. They did update it a little bit, and through the upswing in the economy, a lot of people were given the opportunity for growth experiences. So that changed a little bit. It dropped some, but it was still like 60-some%. And so, if you're hiring employees, you really do need to make sure you hire the right person, put them in the right spot, and then you have to challenge them. That's the number one thing, is engagement. And that's really what people are looking for, is engagement. Not only I want to come to work and feel connected to the company, but I got to feel challenged. It's like, it's like watching a sporting event, but there's no scoreboard. It's kind of like, what's the point?
Right.
It truly is.
But it all does boil down to emotional intelligence, really. Like, okay, so it's emotionally intelligent to do a personality test on somebody before you hire them, right? Because then they could be telling you that they're really good at one thing, and you could read their personality profile and be like, what? This is, or maybe that person just isn't a good fit, but you're not going to know. I mean, if you're just going to hire them off of a resume and an interview, I think that shows you a much more in-depth, and I have to use it too, right? When I'm structuring my business, where are my strengths and weaknesses? I need to know where my weaknesses are, because now I have to be my own boss and police myself or parent myself, right? In those areas that I'm not too good at. But I guess that's all part of consciously creating your new business, right? Or those of you who are starting, from scratch. And that's one thing I wanted to talk to you about too. So people
Mhm.
who are starting from scratch, how do you connect them to their why? How do you connect them to create their place, create their business from um, their values, from their own heart-centered values?
Wow, that is a pretty that's a pretty deep question because you could go into that one for a long ways. Uh,
Mm.
but let's take a not a 30,000-foot view, but a 10,000-foot view of that. Um, why? First and foremost, they have to ask themselves, why am I going into business? Do I really want to take on that responsibility? And as a business owner, it's daunting. I think it's like 80% of businesses fail within the first 5 years. So like there's a 20% success rate. So what is it you're trying to do? Are you trying to, um, there's three different things that people will do. I want to own my own job. I'm going to, what do they call that? A gig economy.
Yeah,
They own their own job. And that's kind of what I do. I own my own job. Secondly, am I building a business to sell? All right. So the first thing to do is, what's your exit strategy? Am I building a business to sell? So let's just say I open a convenience store. All right. I'm selling gas. I'm doing all those things that you can see in your typical convenience store. And you got a really good location. You build a good business. And there's always in every town, and in several different towns, you will see, like we have here in Las Vegas, Green Valley Grocers. Okay, they're not 7-Eleven, a national chain. They're Green Valley Grocers. They're here in Las Vegas. They may have stores elsewhere, but so the entrepreneur opens a business, they build it up, they've reached a certain revenue point, they get noticed by a larger firm, and the opportunity is there to sell it. All right. And then the other type is a legacy business. I want to build a business that I can turn over to my kids. There's a manufacturing plant I talked with up in Reno. Her dad, when he came back from World War II, what he wanted to do was build a manufacturing plant where people had made a good wage. They were able to live a good, make enough money to where they're raising their family. They have one income. It was just all about family values, to your point. So his value in building that business was, one, it's going to be a legacy, and two, why am I doing it? Because I want people to have a good family life. I want to have a good, strong community. And it was going like gangbusters until, let's see, 2008, I believe it was. Yeah. But regulation was killing them. Regulation was running them out of business. They could no longer survive. They were paying out too much, and they call that she was the second generation. It was her dad or grandfather. I might have that wrong, but the legacy business, you want to build a legacy business, hand down to your kids, but it's back to your original question: how much government's too much government? Well, when you're running businesses out of business, I think that might be a clue that you might feel.
Bob, I mean, it's not like I have a feeling. There's a lot of energy that points to this time as being a great time of big systems collapsing because they're just no longer sustainable. So I look at this thing from a big picture standpoint. I look at it from a small, as my own an entrepreneur standpoint, right? But just also is like everything about our systems, right?
They're being
Founded. There's
challenged.
a lot of what we're living in our systems is maybe running. What am I trying to say? It's coming from a fraudulent system. They're all fraudulent systems, so it's broken, right? And they're breaking and they're crumbling. And we have more transparency these days, right? So if you're going to drive down the road and be a dick, someone's going to probably capture it on their cell phone. And if you happen to be driving your work truck,
oh yeah, see that
your
all the time.
business is hosed, right? And
Yep.
So when you're thinking about, okay, I'm starting this business and you have an exit strategy, like you were saying from the beginning, you're also looking at it as like, well, I have to build this with integrity because I'm going to turn around and sell it. So I can't fuck around, so to speak.
Well,
right?
you want to make sure you hire the right people. And so with that, I mean, again, it goes back to wearing the hat of the organizational leader. You've got to be have emotional intelligence, social intelligence as well, as to, okay, I'm going to hire this person. They're going to work. They're going to represent my company. They have to know what the expectation is. I hired you. I gave you a nice clean truck. I want you to. In fact, I'll use this an oil refinery service company down in Texas. They had a company where they were known in the industry where everybody looks like they just rolled out of the pig pen, but they were known for being professional because their trucks were always clean, their people were always one acted professional, talked to people with respect and dignity. They came to work. Their shirts were, their t-shirts were tucked into their pants. Their shoes were some type of clean instead of having, all type of toxins on them. And but that's the owner of that company. He made it a point. This is what I'm building. And when he hired somebody, he said, in 30 days, we're going to come back and I'm going to give you an opportunity to leave with 2 weeks pay, but you're going to have to make a decision. Do you like it here or not? And most of the time people stayed because they liked that structure. They liked being professional. They liked that environment. Very few of them decided to leave. And what that did for him was from that point forward, he could say, look, we both made a mutual acceptable decision on June 30th. I remember, the meeting, we sat here and I asked you, are you able to live up to these values? Are you going to represent us this way? And once he started doing that, his turnover went way down. He attracted more people like that would apply. And in an industry where people normally last 3 to 5 years, he's got 10, 15-year tenured employees. And so, yeah, holding steadfast to your values, defining what those are, and operating with integrity, meaning I say I want XYZ. The integrity is I'm going to model XYZ. I'm going to expect it from you as well. And then when you're not, I'm going to hold you accountable to that. And it doesn't have to be a, like a game of whack-a-mole and beat them over the head. It's that goes back to the emotional intelligence part. How do you use that? So there's a lot into it, isn't there?
Yeah, we had a comment here. It's delegation as a team based on people's strength with one common goal and everyone giving feedback and valued. So
absolutely.
Right. Like we all want to be valued. We all want to be able to give feedback and be heard. We want to be heard and be seen. Like our work is a massive part of our lives. That's the majority of our days, the majority of our time. Those people that we're around we're around oftentimes more than our own families. So it's important to work in an environment where you feel welcomed and part of a team. And it's just so much history and statistics can show you that turnover is much less around that type of a system than the other type of, what do you call it? Command and control type.
Yeah, command and control. And, scientific management, some call it, speak of it as scientific management, which is where it came from. It's command and control. And that is a great description, for engage delegating. The other thing of that is when we delegate, that person may not be totally ready for that. They may have performed well in XYZ, and now I want to give them this new role. And now that S growth curve, as we reach that top of that S growth curve, the engagement part is, okay, L, you've done that. You're really good at it. You can do it while you're sleeping. I want you to, what do you think about this next challenge? And that also goes into succession planning. I've got to get you prepared. And first and foremost, the engaged employee is going to want that. And if you want an engaged workforce as an employer, you have to provide that. Otherwise, they're going to be surfing the internet looking for the engaged employer.
Wow.
It sounds complex, but it's really not. It's just what happens is we want to go out and jump and get into a business, but all those things that we didn't like about our old job, that's what we've been exposed to. That may have raised us. So if you've never seen an engaged workforce or a high-performing team, how are you supposed to build one? And that's what we do. When I say we, as you know, I've got a network of strategic partners around the globe through 360 Solutions that we work closely with, and it's a lot of fun. We share a lot of stories, and even the high-performing teams have hiccups.
Oh, absolutely. That's life.
Yeah,
that's life. Another thing I like to talk about is how in times like this, businesses tend to do a couple different things. One, in Vegas, ass up in the air, $3, everything cheap. Let's just sell stuff cheap, sell it off. Let's fire people. Let's cut back, right? And then there's the other kind, and I noticed that these types of businesses tend to run with more integral systems, right? And those are the ones who utilize times like this to invest in themselves, to take their own company to another level. So instead of slashing prices, they increase their prices. They increase their services. They increase the value of the consultation or whatever it is that you're getting, right? More value goes into that so that they don't have to change their prices. And then an investment in themselves, right? To kind of hold that as you know what I mean, as the economy starts to swing back up, it really sets them aside as stronger company. But anyway.
Well, it's true. And this, even when times are good, if you're engaged in, I'm going to be the cheapest out there, it's a race to the bottom. Eventually, you're going to run yourself out of business. There's always going to be somebody that does it cheaper. What you want to do, and it goes back to your integrity point, is this is our product, this is our service, and we firmly believe that if you use our product or service, one is going to be it's going to be delivered, it's going to be free from defect. Our people that deliver the service are going to be highly professional, and leaders within whatever that service is, and that we're going to work with you to make sure that you get the return on investment. It doesn't matter if it's $5,000 or $500,000 investment. We're going to make sure you get that return. You're going to see that change in the organization that you're looking for, or the increase in performance that you're looking for, and we're going to work with you until you see that. And we see that more often right now is even a lot of my 360 partners are doing a lot of free work right now. A lot of clients, even the Fortune ones that work with the Fortune 100 companies, are, look, we know you just got it in the shorts. Like the airline industry, I've got one that works with the airline industry. He's in Seattle, works with the company in Spain. He's continued his entire program and processes and development with them for free. It was you wouldn't turn your back on your kids when times are tough. You actually get closer to them. And
absolutely.
So for those that may be listening, that look for that opportunity, give a little bit, and not that you're manipulating, but it is, sometimes it could go either way. You could either charge more, or you can charge less or charge nothing. It just depends on the relationship you have. And
absolutely.
That's key with everything. It's all about the relationship.
Right. Yeah. So,
we have any other comments or questions?
No, not yet.
Okay.
No, we've had some comments here, but if anybody has any questions, go ahead and type it in. We've got about 10 minutes left that we can chat. So how long have you been married? Is it 30 years?
34.
34 years.
Yep.
34 years.
Yep. It's been a good 34.
And look at
So
that smile.
yeah, I showed you this.
Yes.
Yeah, there she
Yes.
is. That's my girl. Yep.
Aw.
Yeah. And she still looks at me like that now, but she's it's because she can't see. She's
Can you
I'm
give me my
just kidding.
glasses?
Yeah, give me my glasses back
Well,
because I
we all
know I
get
have
there
them.
at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. The but if there's a couple things that we can look at what's going on right now
Sure.
in the environment, not nationally, locally. So if you have national, regional, state, um, and you're wondering how can they, I don't know. I go back to how can a governor create a mandate that forces nursing homes to take COVID patients? I can't
It's murder.
rationalize that.
It's
I
murder.
can't.
It's
Yeah.
not. There's nothing to rationalize. There's nothing
No.
logical about it. It's you're a human piece of trash.
Well, it's one, given my background, that was an easy one. I'm like, that's wow. I would.
I mean,
I wouldn't even think of it.
through
So,
my lens, that is an
yeah.
asshole dick move. You're a dick. You're gonna tell me you're gonna take a COVID patient and put him in an
Mhm.
old folks home. Like, and it all boils down to the money. You just follow the money. They're broke
And that could be.
state trying to they get extra bonuses when people die of COVID. I don't know. I've been down the rabbit hole a lot lately.
Yeah.
You can tell I'm a little fried, but
Well, with that,
there's
the
just
reason
so
I
many
brought that,
coincidences.
the
Oh,
reason I brought that up is this is as we're talking about people that want to take on this role. Eventually, somebody's going to challenge you on your decision. Okay, do I give that person a refund? Why did I give ABC company a discount and I didn't give it to XYZ company? But those are things you're going to be challenged on, and you have to know those answers up front. It goes back to your core values. And so if you haven't, as anybody on this, if you have to write out your core values and what have you lived your life by to this point? And because you can't go to work and be something different. You are who you are. And there's a lot of our literature points to what you do off the job is exactly who you are on the job. And as we now know, you really don't. Nobody can. It used to be the sign at the door says, "Leave your feelings here." There's a little box. You leave your feelings in the box. Well, you can't.
Yeah.
And as much as we'd like to think that, and of course, you don't want to come to work and be, somebody cut you off in traffic. That goes back to emotional intelligence. Process it, give it meaning, let it go, and move on. So to that, what are you going to do?
I talk a lot about conscious development on this show, a lot, and it all boils down to if you have not yet incorporated or integrated your heart and your gut consciousness into how you're operating in life, how you're making decisions, and how you're directing your energy. That's the first step to all of this stuff, right? Is that we have to be able to feel our feelings, really, because what happens if you don't and you get a bad gut feeling and you don't listen to that bad gut feeling? Those gut feelings are there for a reason. Another
right.
reason why we need to become more sovereign and more integrated with ourselves as a whole person, not just what we know, what we've learned, what the current facts are, what the current theory is, what the story that's being told to us, the narratives through the media, right? The programming. No, we need to, we're going to take in all these things, but we have a little laundry cycle to go through. Hey, does it match up with the values of the heart? How does it feel in the gut? Right? And then tie it all in, people.
Yeah. Well, it's the power of persuasion is what you're when you're looking at the media, the mass media. They use this, the ethos, pathos, and logos constantly. It's communication, and you drive your narrative with that. And so right now we have, a conservative party that really used to be the left way back in the day, and now it's I don't even recognize it. But then there's the left that's just, some of it is just, it's just out there. But to your point, I'm going to bring this up. But to your point about your own gut feeling and how you have to make decisions, and I was born and raised Baptist, and my dad's a Baptist minister, so that means me and my siblings were the orneriest kids in the church. That's true. That's always the case. And but I've never strayed away from those core values, and that was instilled in me, and that's what America was founded on. And the real struggle right now is it's not a movement. It's just the left's point that we want to get away from that. And I don't think, eventually, unfortunately, I think it will happen. We'll get away from those type of values, and where they believe science, and you hear this all the time, that they start to think that science is the way to govern our lives, or to create core values around. Well, it's not. Core values are a belief system. And so it's going to be interesting. I didn't think I would live to see these. I had this discussion with my dad just recently. I said I didn't think I'd live, and he didn't either. I mean, he's 88. He goes, I didn't think I'd live to see this, and here we are.
Oh man,
And
the next decade is going to be interesting. Start journaling, and
I don't know
for those who are feeling intense, take a deep breath. You want to be here for this. I know it's a big time right now to talk about serious things. It's a big time right now for people who feel suicidal. This is a pressure cooker, and they feel like there's no escape. And I like to always remind them that this is an amazing time. Give it a chance.
It is. It is.
Yeah,
it is an amazing time, and we've lived through tough times before. What makes this so unique is it's coming from our government. It's not a threat from a foreign country. This is from within America. That's what's making it unique, and it truly is a tearing of the fabric. And so back to your point earlier, trust your gut. Do you trust your gut? Absolutely, I do. And my gut is what's telling me that is my core values. And will America move forward? America will move forward. Just what does that look like? And then the final question, as my dad asked me, and he says, it doesn't matter what everybody else does. He says, it only matters what you do.
So true. Again, this is the theme of the week, right? When we can just focus on our own integral structures and our own integrity, that's how we change. That's how we change ourselves, and then it reverberates out, right? So 100%. That's a great way to wrap it all up. And
only matters what you do.
I can't believe we can't even go sit down, I don't think, for a cup of coffee, unless I think we might have to wear a mask, and that'd be weird.
Well, we can have a virtual cup just like we have right now.
It's weird to see you on Zoom or like this, but thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I hope that
you brought a lot of value. That was great.
One thing I noticed recently is I'm asking people more questions, and it really comes back to that. It doesn't matter what I do or it only matters what you do, and what you do truly reflects your core values. You may say, it's the integrity model. Are you modeling what you believe? And there's times where I haven't, and I need to get better at that. So So anyway, thank you for having me.
Yeah,
It's
thank you.
been a
You guys,
great.
this is Bob Shannon, and it's Assured Performance 360, and that's his website, assuredperformance360.com. So if you guys want to reach out to him, that's the best
Include my
way.
email address if you would, please.
Oh yeah, and the email address, you guys, it's just Bob, B-O-B, at assuredperformance360.com.
Yeah. So
Remember that now
yeah,
because it's easy.
if you have any
Bob.
questions, and put in the subject line Ellie's.
Else down the rabbit hole.
What's the name of your podcast? I didn't ask you that.
Well, it's down the rabbit hole now, but
Down
I may
the rabbit
change it. And then, I figured, well, even when we talk about consciousness and health and stuff, it tends to go down the rabbit hole. So I might just leave it that. I don't know if it.
I think it's a great name.
Do you?
I do. It's because I mean, all of this. I've been down this leadership rabbit hole since 2013, and it's because I was struggling, and the organization I worked for had no help, none. So, but I'm always learning.
That's another thing about, just wrapping this up again. That's another thing about conscious creation is becoming the person that you at one time needed. It's the transmutation of the healer, right? You have an experience and you're like, damn, I need somebody who can do this. And then it's you turning that into a creation and into a business for the world. It's truly magical. So I challenge anybody out there watching this right now, if you're looking for that inspiration to create, find that. Find what it is that you've been through where you heard yourself say, I need someone that could help me with XYZ, right? There's magic in that. And then here's Bob, and look what he's bringing, all because of the same thing, right? He experienced
pain. I experienced pain, Ellie.
Simple as that.
I was not getting the results I wanted, and
it was painful.
And it was, but that's okay. Go to the gym. Tell me that's not painful. You want to build some muscles? Go to the gym. You're going to have to lift some weights. That's painful, and eventually it's not painful anymore. That's transformation. So anyway, all right.
Thank
so we
you,
can go
Bob.
down that rabbit hole too. Thank you, Ellie.
We're gonna have to have you on again. That was fun.
All right. Thank you.
All right. You take care. Have a good day.
All right. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, guys. Well, it's 10:02, so I'm just wrapping this up. Thank you so much for joining us with the interview with Bob Shannon. I'm Elle Abbott, Las Vegas, Nevada, down the rabbit hole on Freedom Revolution Network. Please, you guys, if you like this show, send us a donation. $3, same as Starbucks, $5. It doesn't have to be a lot of money, but we love it when you donate to Freedom Revolution Network so we can keep this going. By the way, I am so excited to see all the activity on our page lately. Thank you for all the great lives that we've been getting with the protests and all the things that you guys are sharing. It's really exciting. So I love seeing Freedom Revolution blow up. I love seeing people use their voices because here we are. We're in it. We're in the revolution. So thank you guys so much. Thank you, Bob Shannon. Thank you, Freedom Revolution. Thank you, Mother Earth. Thank you, oxygen and water. God bless you all. Have a wonderful weekend. I will see you on Monday. Peace.